I'm curious about that first group you mentioned. So the first group, people who maybe potentially have failed in creating a business, are they particularly enthusiastic about the idea of not having to start another business? Like how is their emotional reaction to the idea of buying versus starting a business?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it's a massive relief because they go, oh wow, like I can buy one, and then they go and look at the brokers and they see how much these businesses cost and how much they're making and what's work is required. There's a caveat with how much work's actually required, what the brokers list. You need to be realistic about that. And then it's a massive relief. It's like, wow, okay, there's people that have already done this. I don't need to go through the startup phase. So it's cutting out a massive time block and also possibly a massive expense where they may not get their ROI back in this. So they're definitely energized towards it, but there's still things that hold them back. And the biggest thing is mindset. And I just harp on about this again and again and again. And people can just say, oh, Jaryd, all he talks is about his mindset. Well, that's really the most important thing anyway. Because if you don't have the right mindset around anything, then you're not getting anything done anyway. So it's not just about buying a business. And that's where really, when we start out, I know this, I had all this energy that I needed to pour into, like, I want to get out of this job. And it's really good, but we don't know where to set the bar, and we don't know what sort of expectations we should have in terms of how long is it going to take us to buy a business? How long is it are we going to be on this journey for? What's the journey look like? And then we go away and see people that have achieved, somebody in the course actually in the program bought a business within 3 weeks,
Really?
and it was making him $2,000 a month or $2,100 a month. And people look at those things and they go, what the hell? Like, okay, I'm going to if he can do it in 3 weeks, surely I can do it in 6 weeks.
Right.
Which is just so stupid because they have this thought of like measuring time as a KPI, as a metric of like, and somebody actually asked me this in an email the other day. It's like, how long does it take to finish the Bob course? And then how long does it take to go from where I'm at now to buying a business in terms of time? And I'm like, I don't care how long it takes you, and you shouldn't either, because you shouldn't track the time. You should track the metric of the inputs you're putting in, which is like how many things, like how many businesses are you looking at? How many sellers are you talking to? How many due diligences are you doing? How many reviews are you submitting? They're the inputs versus tracking time, because one person that does this within 3 weeks, he's a high achiever, was a professional athlete, single male, young, no family, living at, I'm pretty sure he was living at home and had all the time in the world. He had all week to do as much work as he could. And he was so hungry. He's a high achiever. He's like, had the perfect storm to be able to achieve that result within a short time frame, because he submitted I think it might have been like 7 to 10 due diligences in 2 weeks.
Good grief.
Right. And it takes people 3 months, people with a family, 3 to 4 months to get to that point.
Right. He did have the perfect storm. Holy cow.
He had the perfect storm. Yeah. So we can't, like, people compare time like it's relative to where they're at in their journey or in their life, but it's not, because they don't understand or think about this. And that's why people give up, because they're like, well, this person did it in this short of time and I can't, I suck. All you're seeing really is the glory stories on the case studies online from YouTube videos and podcasts anyway.
Right. This is the same as the glory stories, is the same as like scrolling Instagram. It's just as deceptive.
Yeah, it's like the most condensed part of their life squashed into 15 seconds. That's like the best thing that's happened to them all year.
Right. And you don't see any of the work that went into that 15 seconds at the beach on Instagram or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's like I go to Bali. I love surfing in Bali. I'm going there. I was there for a month last year, and I'm going to go for a couple of months this year. And when you go to Bali, like if you like see photos of Bali, like if you type it into Google, like you're going to see the most luxury like beaches, but behind the shot is like filth and an undeveloped country. And it's just like, my life's perfect. I'm on this beach every day. Really, like, you're in the hustle and bustle, which is what I like about Bali as well. You're in the hustle and bustle, and that's not for everyone. So there's a lot of people go to Bali and like, oh, it's not really my thing, because they just think it's all going to be roses.
Right. You're not getting like the full resort experience is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, they just have this expectation, right? That expectation that just wrecks us. Like, I'm going to go to Bali and it's going to be amazing, and everything's going to be super clean and works, and it's going to be easy. And that expectation can ruin your experience. Same with your expectation of buying a business. It can ruin your experience.
I was writing earlier and I wrote about, we talk about people talk about misconceptions. And I thought about what are mis-expectations that trip us up. So it sounds like one of the mis-expectations that trip us up is thinking that time is a KPI and that you can sometimes just do things very quickly. And that's a bad expectation.
I like that. I like that analogy, mis-expectation. It's great.
That kind of leads to, it is not a bed of roses. If you want to go buy a business, if you want to do anything, it's not a bed of roses. And I was curious if you had any insight on counting the cost of what should people consider? What are costs people should consider to the journey to buying an online business? What are things they have to give up or kill to buy an online business?
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good question, man. So everything has a trade-off. What we want something of, like we'll take away from something else in our life. For example, if you've got children and you want to spend time with them, but you also want to ensure you have a good, solid financial future for your children and your family, there's a trade-off of like, you need to sacrifice a little bit of time spent with them towards working on your financial independence. So that's a time cost. And I talked about this with a friend literally 2 days ago. He's like, so many people talk about side hustles. I was like, the only really way to do a side hustle is to just do it. Like, you have to work a 60, 70 hour week. Well, I did 67. I worked a 70-hour week, and then I worked 30 hours on the computer afterwards. And I did training with my friend in between. This is 10 years ago. We've been doing training for like over the last more than a decade together. He's like, I remember when you did 70-hour work weeks. You'd come home, we'd do training quickly, you would eat, and then you get on the computer for 5 to 6, 7 hours a night. That's what had to be done. Like, I sacrificed so much. I sacrificed time. I sacrificed a lot of my energy. And also I sacrificed not spending much time with my friends as well. Right. And I was young and I was just hungry. So that there was some cost there. That's important. So yeah, it's not just the monetary cost. We actually need to spend time, like give away some of our time. It's not giving it away. It's investing it, I would say, investing it into this thing. And it's kind of comes back to the do what others won't do now to live a life that most can't.
Ooh, I like that.
I butchered that a bit, but people get the ideology. That's a couple of the costs. Are there any other costs that you see, or is some things that you were thinking about when you thought about this question?
Yeah, I was thinking that when people ask about how to do anything, it's generally pretty obvious what we need to do. It's generally you need to do some kind of work over an extended period of time. It's never complicated. At least nothing I've come across is terribly complicated. It's just, this is the work and you have to do it over time. And so when people ask the question like, oh, how do you buy an online business? How do you get good at piano? How do you do stand-up comedy? Whatever it is, you kind of just have to do it. And I think people just they don't really want it because they don't do it. And they're not willing to sacrifice things. So so that's what I see. What do you think is like something what's like a sacred thing people just do not want to sacrifice that you see? I have one in mind, but.
Well, you share that, and then I want to share something else that people that's going to help people want to make these sacrifices.
Fuel. Yeah. Well, two big ones I see are over consuming alcohol, basically. Because if you're going out too much or hungover, you're not going to be very motivated to do the work necessary to buy an online business or really maybe do anything. And then the other one I see is scrolling social media. I don't want to say too much, but if you spend 3 hours a day scrolling something, that's 3 hours not doing some work that you may need to be doing, or good rest. I don't know. What do you say?
Oh, you're spot on. You've just brought up a real aggravator for me. So we will try not to harp on it too long. But I also have empathy for those people that drink alcohol and consume any social media. The reason being is because it's addictive.
Right.
Very, very addictive. And I think social media is probably more addictive than alcohol because they've used technology to really tap into our brains and our mind. It's also a comforting thing. I've spoken to a friend before, somebody I play tennis with, very successful person, retiring at 40, has some level of social anxiety, but to feel comfortable will go on social media and just scroll to just zone out from that. So it's a clutch, just like alcohol is a clutch, and it helps people get through life at times. Right. And I have massive empathy for people because, I mean, I was experimenting with TikTok the other day for Bob and putting some content on there. And I went back a couple of weeks later to check how the content had fared. And we got a few views, which is cool. And I was just checking out what this TikTok thing is. And I didn't want to work the rest of the day. So I consciously had time to burn. And I spent like 3 hours on TikTok scrolling through because the content is so damn good and so funny and juicy, and it's rich. And they've just really tapped into the human psyche. And so I can see how addictive it is. So that's why I don't consume social media, because I'm very conscious of like how addictive it is. And it does burn a lot of time. But we've got to understand that, yes, it's an addiction, and have empathy around that, but also understand that it's what I call a red line decision versus a green line decision. Just like we have second and third order consequences, like drinking alcohol. And I've shared this on other interviews that I've been on. If I give in to peer pressure of drinking alcohol, like when I was younger, drink, it can either be a red line decision, it can be a good decision, or a bad decision, which can compound either way, either side. So if I drink, then I'm going to give up on not surfing very well the next morning, or being hungover and giving up the whole day. And that's the second and third order consequences. Then I feel crap and I roll into Monday with a second day hangover. I don't end up surfing. I don't give myself the me time and the health that I need. So that's a red line decision. So one red line decision just takes you down multiple notches from the second and third order consequences, versus going, no, I'm going to not consciously stop social media or consciously not drink this alcohol. It's hard because it's not comfortable, because you're outside your comfort zone of the norm of social media or alcohol. So it's uncomfortable, but it's a really, really one of the most impactful decisions, because the second and third order consequences is that you don't drink the alcohol, you're sharp as a tack, and you've got time to do other things. And I'm glad that you brought this up, William, because I'm very far removed from the alcohol and the partying and social media, because in my world, it's not a thing. Right. I notice people have it, not so much alcohol anymore, because I don't surround myself there, but especially social media. I'm pretty closed off from that. So I'm so glad you brought it up, because it's massive. It's huge. I remember when I first started, the biggest thing that I had to stop people doing was, and what I helped them save money on, was alcohol, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week on alcohol, and cigarettes and smoking. Now it's vaping. But I could save people anywhere from a couple of $100 a year to tens of thousands of dollars a year, just by cutting out some entertainment expenses that were compounding their life in a negative way. So red line decisions with the second and third order consequences of what they were spending their time and money on. And so you're right. This is a huge one for people to think about. Not that we all need to be these perfect angels, we can dabble in things every now and then, but it's worth sacrificing, I believe, a lot of entertainment, if not most entertainment expenses, to get ahead and then recalibrate to bring entertainment back into your life, which is what I have slowly done over time. Because I used to be this robot, like so strict.